all in our today's exclusive interview on addressing the needs of breast cancer patient during COVID-19 pandemic. Today, for this exclusive interview, we have one of the versatile and eminent medical oncologist, Dr. Madhu Chandakar, who is a clinical director, Department of Oncology, Peerless Hospital, Kolkata. We welcome you, doctor, for this exclusive interview and thanks for sharing your valuable time with us today. Doctor, how to tackle this situation and what challenges you are facing every day?
Namaste. At the outset, let me tell you that this is a very outstanding situation that we are all in this COVID pandemic. There have been a lot of challenges, and we have to be very pragmatic about these challenges. We have to individualize for each patient, and the challenges mainly have been logistic and medical, both. For the logistic challenges, I think the timeline for COVID testing has been very, very important. In the beginning, we were having a lot of confusion, but as days have gone by, our institute is doing in-house testing and the timeline has reduced to 24 to 48 hours. So now we are comfortable. We are doing COVID testing for our indoor admissions, but not routinely for the OPD patients.
How will a patient be able to connect with oncologist or hospital?
I think in my hospital, there should not be any difficulty. We have got online registration facilities for the patients. We also have a helpline that can put you to the oncologist or the coordinator. And we have a nodal person or coordinator whose number can be shared with the patients when they require. So on the whole, I think it should be easy.
When to see a doctor?
This is a very important question for the breast cancer patients. If you have a lump which you are feeling might be a cancerous lump, you're a layman, the patient, still if there is an index of suspicion, they should come and visit a doctor. And if you're already a breast cancer patient, then if you have any acute condition, say for example, you are having a neuropsychiatric problem, you're having bleeding from the breast lump, you're having any cord compression, that means you can't move your legs or arms, an acute neurologic complication, or you're confused, you're having all telltale signs of metabolic disorder like raised calcium, low sodium. These are different scenarios where you have to immediately talk or attend your cancer physician or some local doctor.
What symptoms would want immediate emergency treatment?
There are two types of symptoms I will enumerate. Some for the COVID infection, the COVID disease, and the other for your breast cancer, if you're a breast cancer patient. I think all of us are aware about the COVID sign symptoms. Mostly they are fever, they may be cough, sneezing, headache, body ache, even loss of taste or loss of smell, diarrhea. These are the telltale signs, but we have a good number of patients of COVID who have been asymptomatic. And for the breast cancer, all oncologic emergencies should immediately contact the doctor. Like if you're having dyspnea due to pleural effusion or pericardial effusion, you're having some bleeding from the breast lesion, you're having headache, vomiting, which is suggestive of, say, brain metastasis, you're having some other problem like, say, you can't move your arms or legs, that is a neurological problem, a psychiatric problem. All these warrant early consultation of your doctor. Beside these, there can be other conditions which you can counter because of comorbidities in these patients. Many of the breast cancer patients have got hypertension, have got ischemic heart disease. They also have got, say, diabetes. And these comorbidities per se can also cause some sign symptoms which are emergency, like an uncontrolled diabetic ketoacidosis, a hypertensive emergency, acute ischemic heart disease. All these also warrant correct diagnosis and meeting the correct physician. So I think the patient population should be very much aware of all these types of symptoms and complications that warrant early consultation with the doctor. There can be some other symptoms and signs as a complication of the treatment given. Say, for example, somebody has undergone surgery and now there is an infection or there is a hematoma at the surgical site. So that also has to be consulted immediately with the surgeon. Somebody has undergone medical treatment by chemotherapy. So he or she has got a fever with neutropenia. That also needs immediate consultation. So even the cardiac complications, say there is a heart failure after anthracycline given in breast cancer, or anti-HER2 drugs like Herceptin given in breast cancer, this also warrants a consultation with the treating oncophysician. So it's a wide array of signs, symptoms of the disease, of the comorbidities, of the complications of treatment that really need to be tackled immediately. And all strictly safe procedures should be followed in tackling such complications.
Should a patient delay her treatment, surgery, or radiation therapy, or else how should she be shifted to oral medicines?
Actually, I'll tell you, in the beginning, our concept was a bit different. In the beginning, we were not very clear in our thoughts. We had no guidelines to fall back upon. We were making very individualized decisions, very much without much of evidence, and as it suited us. That was the way we were working in the initial phase of this COVID pandemic. So we did delay a lot of surgeries. We did delay a lot of chemotherapy, radiation therapy. But as the pandemic progressed and as we learned better about these patients who are exposed to COVID, we have changed our mindset a lot. We have been more bold. We have been more confident in our approach to these patients. And what are we doing? We are actually prioritizing our treatment. That means that we have classified these patients into high priority, medium priority, and low priority. So everybody who is high priority, say somebody who has just detected a breast lump, needs to have a surgery as early as possible. This will prevent unnecessary use of chemotherapy if the surgery is delayed and the stage gets downgraded. Suppose somebody comes in stage 1. There is surgery that is being done. We may not have to use chemotherapy in all these patients based on the prognostic model adopted in our institution. So each institution adopts their own prognostic model. There are various prognostic models. So in stage 1 patients or even elderly stage 2 patients, if the benefit of chemotherapy is very minimal, there we may not have to give the chemotherapy. So we must diagnose and treat the breast cancer early. Now about chemotherapy. There also we have prioritized. Is it curative adjuvant chemotherapy? That means after surgery or before surgery. Before surgery is neoadjuvant, after surgery is adjuvant. So if it is neoadjuvant and adjuvant, we do not compromise on the schedule or the drug dosage and want to maintain as much as per the guidelines as possible, except in the very elderly. But if the chemotherapy is given in a metastatic or palliative setting, very often we have to compromise on the dosage because the patient may have a lot of comorbidity and we must keep a watch on that. Or we may have to compromise the schedule, like we may have to adjust the schedule, delay sometimes. A 2-weekly schedule may have to become 3-weekly, definitely not beyond 6 weeks, but it can be adjusted depending on it is palliative metastatic setting and what really you want to achieve. You also want to have a good quality of life in these patients, and we don't want them to come too frequently to the hospital or to the doctor's clinic. So taking all into consideration in a very holistic approach, we prioritize the chemotherapy also in these patients. Regarding radiotherapy, if the benefit is quite remarkable in that particular patient, we will go for the radiotherapy within that timeline, may delay it for 6 weeks, but not beyond that. And if they are not in that timeline, if it is very delayed, we have also given away or thought away about radiotherapy in that particular patient. But yes, as days have gone by, as the COVID pandemic has taught us a lot of things, our radiotherapists also have become more confident, and many, if not all, our patients who require adjuvant radiotherapy based on risk stratification are getting the radiotherapy as has been planned. But one thing I would like to tell you, all our patients have to undergo a MDT, that is a multidisciplinary tumor board, before we decide on the plan of action and follow it up. Regarding oral drugs, yes, this is a very important question. If there are subset of patients where we can give oral chemotherapy, like many patients who can have capecitabine at home for breast cancer that is metastatic, yes, that can be an option. Even those patients who are endocrine receptor positive, hormone receptor positive, if they can take the hormone at home, that is also a very welcome option. Maybe in elderly, before we go for surgery, we don't want to do the surgery at this time, then we give a course of neoadjuvant endocrine therapy. Or if they have undergone a surgery and we find the benefit of chemotherapy is very little, whereas it is a hormone positive patient, very early stage patient, elderly patient, there we can give only oral hormone therapy. So in this way, actually, we risk stratify, prioritize, and it is a very, very personalized and individualized approach.
What about mammograms and other routine screenings?
See, when we are talking about a patient who we will take up for surgery, we have to be very careful to do the metastatic workup. And in the metastatic workup, we have to look at the opposite breast, the same breast also. So we have to do a mammography and see whether there are multifocal lesions or there are lesions on the opposite breast. Then other screening procedures like doing the metastatic workup with ultrasound of the abdomen or CT scan, whichever we feel suitable, or a PET scan, that will definitely depend on the stage of the breast lump. If it is a very big tumor, there are some tests we do for the workup. If it is a very early tumor, we do much less tests. But yes, mammogram before surgery is usually done. Number two is that regarding the routine mammography, as you said, that do we do routinely like we do in the follow-up, a yearly mammogram or two yearly mammogram? I don't think in this COVID pandemic, we are calling patients who are on follow-up for their checkup with mammography. We are delaying it usually. And opportunistic screening or mass screening for mammography for breast cancer, I don't think we are pursuing at the moment. So it is mainly those radiological tests and mammography that are needed for the metastatic workup of the patient whom we are planning for a surgery. And we are also doing echocardiography, which is again a radiological test for those patients who will be given chemotherapy, because as you know, anthracyclines, anti-HER2, these are all very cardiotoxic medications. So we must do the echocardiography before we venture to use these anti-cancer treatment.
What a patient needs to do if she is having an urgent appointment scheduled?
If she has an urgent appointment schedule and she does not have any symptoms suggestive of COVID, she can come to the doctor as needed. I have already mentioned which are the situations that they should meet the doctor, which are the complications that need immediate attention. But it is very, very important to remember that if you have the sign symptoms which actually suggest COVID, you can be at home quarantine and call the local person or see a local doctor. You need not come all the way, because the doctor will, the oncophysician will not take any therapeutic decision unless he or she excludes COVID in such situations. So it is very important, number one. Number two, when you come to the doctor, you have to maintain a very staggered appointment schedule. What I do is, when such patient has appointment, I give limited appointment every hour. So there is a lot of distance between the patients. And when you come to any hospital, you must also follow the hand hygiene measures. Either you carry the sanitizer with you or do the hand washing. Also, the cough etiquette must be maintained so that other patients are not affected. And your caregiver or guardian who attends the clinic along with you should also maintain the strict measures that have been laid down by the Indian Council of Medical Research. For knowledge of everybody, whatever we talk are in the spirit laid down by the ICMR guidelines. And for cancer-specific guidelines, we can fall back on any established guideline, like I follow the European guideline, ISMO. So it's better that any oncologist adopts a guideline for his institution and makes their own institutional protocol. So now my institution, my hospital has got established protocol for all non-communicable diseases, including cancer, in this COVID pandemic.
In a patient of breast cancer, how much higher is the risk of severe consequences of COVID-19?
I think this is a very, very important issue that we must remember. In general, all cancer patients, it is said that they are immunocompromised, especially those who have been undergoing chemotherapy, immunotherapy. All these patients have got definitely low immunity. They are immunosuppressed. So when we are giving these treatment, we must be very careful that they do not have a bad outcome with the COVID-19 infection, if at all they catch it. The coronavirus infection can be quite difficult to tackle in immunocompromised patients. So we are very strict, we are very careful. We will do the testing before we venture for any of these treatment, so that we do not err in such a way that the patient's immunity is further hampered by giving chemotherapy if he or she is positive. There are some drugs which are very, very difficult to use in this situation. Say, for example, there are CDK4/6 inhibitors like palbociclib, ribociclib. All these can cause some pneumonitis also. They can cause neutropenia also. But it's difficult to distinguish from a COVID-related pneumonitis. Even immunotherapy, all MABs like pembrolizumab, nivolumab can also cause some autoimmune pneumonitis. There also it is difficult to distinguish from the COVID-related pneumonitis. Then there are those mTOR inhibitors, which can, like everolimus, which can actually cause a pneumonitis-like picture, which is difficult to distinguish from COVID pneumonia in this scenario. So all these type of drug or molecules when we venture to use, we have to be very careful, and we should not make a mistake. So if we have other options, other types of options which do not cause so much of pneumonitis, where there can be confusion with the pneumonitis of COVID, we must think of those particular options and avoid these options if they are avoidable. If they are very much needed for the treatment, then it is difficult. We have to monitor both the situations of COVID and the immunotherapy or other drugs I mentioned. But as far as I am concerned, I try to avoid these in this pandemic situation. Maybe in future I will use them whenever required, or I delay the immunotherapy from 2 weeks I'm using to 4 weeks. So this type of improvisation, this type of choices, very individualistic, are being practiced by oncophysicians to avoid a calamity that can happen in breast cancer patients if they catch COVID, corona, at the same time if they are receiving chemotherapy or immunotherapy or even oral therapy that can cause immunosuppression.
What are the safety precautions or care she should take at home during this COVID-19 situation?
I think the most important thing is a person's immunity that will take care of the coronavirus, novel coronavirus. Most of the COVID in our country has been seen to be asymptomatic. Nearly 70 to 80% do not have any symptoms whatsoever. So I think basic hygienic measures are most important. You must have very, very good hand hygiene, even at home. You sanitize and soap water clean your hands and make others in your family, especially the caregiver, also to do that very rigorously. This is number one. Have a very, very balanced diet. It is well known that a balanced diet has a potential to boost your immunity, keep your immunity well. I personally do not recommend any particular type of food, but yes, we must have enough of protein, we must have enough of fruits and vegetables so that all the essential micronutrients are there to keep our immunity okay. We must also have some physical activity. We know that physical activities boost immunity. So they must be physically active, do a bit of exercise at home or some walking if possible. Whatever is available at your own place, you must do that so as to be physically fit and keep your immunity at the highest level. As well as, very important is sleep. We know that sleep is essential for immunity. So adequate sleep will really keep you well in as far as immunity is concerned. So all these very basic measures can be done at home, can be really executed properly, and avoid anybody who is coming with cough and cold or fever. You must avoid so that you don't catch the coronavirus infection, which can be quite bad in a patient of breast cancer, especially when they're undergoing sessions of chemotherapy or immunotherapy. So your measures at home are not something very out of the world. They are very common measures. Put a lot of interest in the measures. Your thought process should be such that all these measures can be adequately taken at home carefully. And please also give the thought to the caregivers so that they also do not transmit infection to the breast cancer patients.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for upgrading us with so much valuable knowledge and surely be a great help to cancer patients.
Thank you. I enjoyed sharing my experience in this COVID pandemic because this is something very new to us and we have not been prepared for it. But yes, we are confidently combating the situation, each in our own way, according to our institutional protocols. Thank you.